Good evening, my name is Johnathan Lodge. I just realised I haven't put my name on the presentation, but never mind. So I'm from City Farm Systems. We're a lot more on the commercial side of things. What we've heard so far is very much the lower levels of what we do with food waste afterwards. We try and avoid it to start with. We all know about the growing populations and things like that. We're going to need to feed all these people. Love them or loathe them, the supermarket's going to be part of it. So we're trying to work with them, and there we had the Horticultural Development Board's leader saying, in the longer term, novel growing systems that can be predominantly automated should be developed. Well, I'm still trying to tell them and get them to understand, we've been working on this for a long time, we're pretty well there. There are some that will bring the rural model into an expensive city building. Well, the economics just do not stack up. They're just not realistic. So if we compare that to a field, office like this, 30,000 times the cost in the land. London office, there we are. So the cheapest space in London is 15,000 times. It's not going to happen. What we're looking at is cutting out the transport. The transport is the bit that costs the money. Not the actual motorway mileage, but the ability to put it on the lorry in the first place, the transport only packaging. Then you see pictures like this on Twitter and the like, and I just laugh. Nice idea, but it isn't going to happen. So if we look at what we're growing, if we look at a plant, it needs its roots are there to anchor and deliver the nutrients. They do need a day and a night. This idea of growing in a building is all very well, but you still need to actually give it nighttime. And so you've got to have water temperatures. There is so much more we've got to do to vary what the plant actually grows in. Anyone here heard of hydroponics? Again, it's really a means of holding the plant in place and delivering nutrients with water, which is all very well, but you've got to have oxygen there, otherwise it doesn't work. Oxygen. Roots take in oxygen at night, that's part of why they need night time. Aeroponics, anyone heard of that? We've got someone who's very well versed in these terms. A nice idea is misting the water onto the roots with the nutrients, often creating a barrier between the plants, the foliage and the root. The problem with that is actually they don't like it very much. When you harvest it, they dry out much faster, and it has a lot of issues. If your pump fails, all your plants fail. Anyone heard of aquaponics? That's where you use fish farming to create plant nutrients, and plants plant cleans the water for the fish. Great idea. Nothing new about it. It's been done for 8,000 years in China. Paddy fields with their fish swimming around in it. No commercial aquaponic farm in the world makes the fish park profitable. So it's not really something to be done in the city. Does anyone know the fish we use mostly for aquaponics? Have you tried it? Actually, a lot of people think that tilapia will end up being used to be processed into fish food for salmon farms. So there isn't really any point in doing it in a city, because you only have to have transporting it out. And there we are. They say it costs 30% extra to do it in that way. So we've avoided that side of it. And then we look inside again, people are using very expensive systems. It should fade through, yes. Or even on to more. They all have something in common. Everyone's asking for a solid concrete base, and that's the bit that costs the money. So we look at, they've also got large voids to walk around, or even put scissor lifts inside the building, which to my mind is daft. And this picture here was actually my light bulb moment. That is actually the large Tesco on the A4 at Slough. and I got stuck behind a supermarket lorry, 200 yards from it, on a cold, dark winter's night. And when I finally got inside, there was nothing on the shelves. It was all still outside. And then, with this picture, a very recent one, that's actually Metro, the supermarket chain in Germany. And they're thinking, oh, we'll grow inside. Did anyone see Marks & Spencer's last year at Marble Arch? They tried pick your own strawberries in store. Well, actually, they carried a load of plants that had strawberries ready to pick. It doesn't work. That space, when we move on, there we are, the poorest retail sales, 50 times what we've grown in the same area. And in the UK, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose typically achieve even more than that, so 150 times. So, if Metro's greenhouse is sold out in 1 week, or then grow in a year, what's going to happen for the rest of the year? But then when you look at a big supermarket, 7 or 8% of total supermarket sales are the fresh produce. So we decided growing on the roof was the way forward. And that's what we spent our time making it work. We spent an enormous amount of time and effort making our systems automated so you can actually put it on to that roof. You don't need people up there because insurances and health and safety won't allow it. But automate that bit and use that equivalent of that German space down on the shop floor. That's pretty well all we need to sow seeds and harvest at floor level. So this is part of this picture here is our front-end software. So at head office we can actually look at every outlet we've got or working, drill down. So yes, we put an insulated polytunnel on the roof. We automate it, we gather it together and bring it down. And then the business case, we can show that we can grow far more. There's lots of detail there. I don't think we need to go into it too deeply, but it shows there plenty of supermarkets in this country, food preparation. Funnily enough, DHL actually prepare food for British Airways at Heathrow. They're interested in having some of our systems there. And then for the smaller customer, we're looking at using the Raspberry Pi, which I think I've met the Eden Upton head of the Raspberry Pi Foundation, so we're going to talk about how we can actually help that and get into schools. And did it come up? Yeah, there. Someone deliver salads with pie. So that's me. That's what we do. We want to look at it from a different direction and actually avoid growing what we know will be wasted. Should do.
What sort of growing systems do you use on the rooftops?
We actually use conveyor systems, so we move the plants around all the time.
So is that soil or?
It can be soil. As I put very early on there, roots anchor the plant. As long as you've got something. I don't see why people are using fiberglass. That's madness to me because you're mixing the two worst things to recycle later. Roots in that doesn't make sense to me at all. But funnily enough, I actually grew French beans in 3 different growing media last year. And I could tell by flavour alone which I'd grown them in. But we could grow in almost anything, but we're using actually trays and pots and things like that, so we can choose a medium that suits.
So how do you deal with the sort of weight on the roof? Presumably some of these roofs in the supermarket.
I had a row with Sainsbury's last week. Their head of energy said that their roofs can't even support PV. I just laughed. That's the easy bit. We point load it through to the steel frame.
I mean, that's actually what I was going to ask about, because that would be the other use for the flat roofs would be PV. Is this a better use? Is that?
We can offer twice as quick return on investment, and we can, before the feed-in tariff was cut, and we could save at least 20 times that amount of energy from the supply chain. So yes, we like to look at That's one of the latest things they're going to do. We're going to start looking at energy productivity, which gets quite interesting.
Okay. Have you launched anywhere?
Not yet. We have a trailer-based demo that we can show the system working. Our first sowed seeds in it at this time last year, and it's been growing ever since.
Do the other environmental benefits of growing, having green roofs apply when you're covering them in like essentially a greenhouse? Is that, like, for example, the heat containment, the water runoff, you're obviously like limiting certain benefits by covering it in plastic cover?
No,
I
think we can give most of the benefits. That picture of the supermarket, if you looked at that closely, all you see on there are the air handling units dumping heat from their fridges and freezers. Every big building, this included right now, will be dumping carbon dioxide and heat at roof level. So yes, most rural greenhouses will be paying to run gas boilers all summer long, even if it means just dumping the heat to create carbon dioxide. So you've got gas boilers, you've got their gas ovens, you've got the people all pumping out CO2 that we can use rather than actually pay to create it. We can use the heat, we can use rainwater harvesting. You actually help them to insulate the building as well, so there are quite a few benefits.
So all the exhausts that would normally come out of the building, or a lot of them are going into the greenhouse and helping the plants grow. Oh, that's cool.
If you don't put CO2 into a greenhouse, carbon dioxide will drop to about 200 parts per million and growth will stop.
One of the questions, what's your background? Are you a farmer or a technologist? Or
technology with an interest in gardening, and built from there.
Thanks.
These things wouldn't work on top of a multi-story car park.
There's no reason why not. You might have to find an alternative source for your carbon dioxide, but yeah. There's no reason why we can't place a system there. The whole point is that we can point load, we don't need a solid concrete base to actually start with. Any other questions?
What's the sort of minimum roof size you want for this to be viable?
It depends on your access. We work on a 2 metre wide module that can then stretch back, but we collect together down corridor, so we can actually start with 2 or 3 modules to make it worth doing in the right place. So, and then go as big as you like. I mean, it could be on that supermarket there was 5,000 square metres. We can show that that's got the equivalent of a 500-acre farm doing nothing. Worse still, they're actually paying most of the energy needed to make it productive. Or we could give you a single module and put it in your garden like a premium greenhouse, but have far greater capacity. Let's give them more questions.
Can you use a domestic boiler then to provide the CO2?
Yes. The one you can't use is wood gas.
How about a brewery that pumps out carbon dioxide?
That sounds like a good plan. You might welcome me there. Yeah, no. Any building that has a good need for salad crops, herbs, small vegetables would actually make a good place to actually put one of our systems.
Do you guys have any pre-orders on your systems?
We've got a lot of interest, not pre-orders yet.
How much would an installation cost, say, for that roof you showed us before?
We'd be actually looking at a similar price to a rural greenhouse, so on that one would be around about £2,000 a square metre.
Thank you, Johnathan.